All right, guys. My name is Laura Brink. I'm doing this today. I'm glad we found each other and found the tech, and we're good to go now. This is Reclaim, Restore, Rewrite, Becoming the Author of Your Own Healing. So this is going to be about transformative writing. I don't know if anyone's familiar with transformative writing, but it's a practice that uses writing as a tool for change and healing and growth. So it's not academic and it's not creative. So it's its own thing. It's centered in your own insight and emotional honesty, and it's exactly. It's all of it together. So it comes from expressive writing, therapeutic writing, there's writing therapy. I want to be clear. Let me make a little disclaimer right now. I am not a trained mental health professional. No, go to therapy. If you think you need therapy, go to therapy. Okay. Now we got that out of the way. We use transformative writing in storytelling. Social justice work calls for a lot of transformative writing. That's actually how I got on this subject. I'm in grad school and I did a presentation about redemptive storytelling in prison memoirs. And I just really latched onto it. Last year at Summer Summit, I did a workshop on journaling. And so I feel like this is kind of growing out of that. And one of the things I should probably change my slide, I really like about the idea of transformative writing is that it's a process for change. And I work in the Writing Center at Athens State. So we talk a whole lot about the writing process. We are process driven, not product driven. So this is all about what the benefits of the writing process can do for you personally, not for your essay, not for your short story, but for you. So there's four pillars of transformative writing. Let's start with reflection, because until you understand what something is, you can't change it. You can't imagine what it will be. So it's deliberate, it's this critical self-examination. So you have to go into it with that intention. You're trying to make sense of an experience, identify and recognize your own assumptions, beliefs, and patterns. So that's the first step. We're reflecting before we can reauthor. So you are restructuring, reframing. You're taking this story, your story, and that you've told yourself, and examining it, right? You're challenging the narratives, and you are claiming agency over this meaning. This is my story. I get to choose what it says. And so it's this shift in your thinking about yourself that I think is just super powerful. A good bit of transformative writing is community, and it is that connection and empathy and all these things. So it's writing on the page, but it has real application, real tangible application. And then imagination. So once we know what it is, we claimed it for ourselves and with other people, we can then move beyond where you are now. That's what we want to do when we're working through something. We go from one place, we want to end up somewhere else. So it's inspiring, hope and developing this vision. So who benefits, right? What are we talking about? First of all, personal experiences. Most often we think trauma, right? You're writing through something, you're working through something, but it's not just, of course, that's a main part, but not only for trauma situations. Anybody who's seeking to heal or grow from anything, we think it doesn't have to be the worst case scenario. You can just be working through an argument with your spouse, a difficult situation at work. It's a way to think about a situation differently. Artists and writers, and we're getting the meat of this is creating meaning. And so that's what we do, right? As writers and artists, we create meaning. We're leaning into the act of writing. It's that internal action, the insight and healing and change. It's not about perfect. It's about progress over perfection. So we'll start with expressive writing. Expressive writing is not the same as journaling. A lot of times we think of expressive writing is free writing. That's what it is. We sit down and you just write, you spill it all, but you're not just spilling anything. You have a focused topic, a subject, what you're writing about. You have a goal for this. It's not just dear diary, that kind of journaling, but it is for venting and processing and clarifying emotions privately. We're going to talk about two kinds of writing. I'm sorry, expressive writing and transformative. So we're telling our story. We're not have a goal of artistry perfection. This is just raw self-expression for emotional processing and clarity. This is kind of an internal document, if you will. It is not to be shared with others. This all came about a man by the name of James Pennebaker. He is from UT, Texas, UT Austin. Began this study 1986. He took 10 college students and he assigned them to write, to come in a controlled environment and have them write about a traumatic experience for 15 to 20 minutes a day for 4 to 5 days. Afterwards, he found that these students had fewer doctor visits to the campus physician, less anxiety, depression, they improved academic performance, lower blood pressure, improved immune function. So these were surprising results, thinking, how does writing keep me healthy? But it's been proven over 200 times. This has been replicated and over and over again. We found the same things. So why? How does this work? It's scientific. I love when science and writing come together. Like you can prove this. This is real. Writing forces the brain to organize emotional chaos into coherent thoughts. So this helps you reframe and understand your own experiences. Then we move into the emotional regulation, because suppressing emotions is mentally and physically exhausting. If you've ever had any kind of trauma or long chronic stress in your life, it is exhausting. So this expressive writing gives you a safe and private outlet for these feelings. Also, the repetitiveness of the task desensitizes you to your emotion. Being exposed to these memories, it just reduces their emotional charge. It's called exposure therapy. Once again, not a therapist. All this leads to sense making, because humans are meaning makers. Writing is transforms these events into a narrative, and that gives you a sense of control and identity out of this chaos. Be specific, right? We're not just talking about, I feel sad. No, we're talking about an event, a pinpoint event, a personal experience that you carry that weight with you still. So then pick a time and a space, 15 to 20 minutes. I mean, we're not sitting here writing for an hour about it. That's part of it. Get it out and put it down. Choose a quiet spot, a safe spot. Sometimes, you might not ever want to read what you've written ever again, and that's fine. So get somewhere comfortable where you can just get it out and do whatever you like with it afterwards. But we're going to write freely. Don't worry about anything. Don't stop to correct your grammar. Don't overthink yourself. If you think it, write it down. And we're not trying to make a story. You're not trying to make a happy ending. You're just word vomit, for lack of better terms. And so on that note, be honest. This only works if you're honest. You have to be honest. You can't, it's only for you. You can get rid of it, burn after reading. Has anybody ever used that journal? Oh, it's a guided journal. Yes, burn after reading. Same concept. It's done its job. Once it's left you, it's done its job. So that allows you to really explore emotions and thoughts together and how that comes out. So you have to allow yourself to feel as you're doing this. Don't try to suppress it. This is his method here. Repeat 3 to 4 days in a row. So these focus sessions, a lot of times in other writing, we say, take a break, put it down, come back with fresh eyes. The same thing applies here. You get a deeper understanding, layered levels of meaning. And because the idea is that just because you put it down and quit writing about it, you haven't quit thinking about it. Like your brain is, but now you're thinking from a different level. And so then you come back and write again. And then when next time you start thinking, you're thinking from a different level. You see the path where you started and how you got. Exactly. Like I said, always seek professional help if you think you need to. But this next one is called narrative reconstruction. And this is the one I am most interested in. This is psychologist Dan McAdams. It's called The Narrative Study of Lives. It's a 12-book series. I think it's 1993 3, maybe. He uses this narrative identity technique for uncovering, describing, and interpreting the meaning of experience. So his big thing is identity. Your identity is nothing more than your life story. And so our identity is built from our memories, turning points, big, significant events in your life, your goals and dreams, and your surroundings. So, all that goes into making you you. It helps us understand who we are and why we are, right? That's the point of therapy in a nutshell, right? Why am I the way I am? That's what we all pay a lot of money to try to find out. And really, this kind of identity formation begins in youth. Erik Erikson's psychoanalytic theory, the stages of psychological development, I think it's the 7th, the fidelity stage. Didn't know this. Erikson actually coined the term identity crisis. But he says we're all supposed to have an identity crisis around the time we're adolescents. And that's when our identity is internalized. So it's inside of us. But the good news is, who you are when you are 15 is not who you are when you are 30. So it is always evolving because all those things are changing. You're making new memories, new goals, and those other things, they all change. We use the term change the narrative, right? Change what you believe. And all of these experiences, if we put them into this narrative structure, we find coherence in that, the unity and purpose from our identities. This story, this internal and evolving your story of yourself, it reconstructs the past, it then explains the present and anticipates the future. So our personal narratives shape not how we remember our past, but how we see ourselves now and what we imagine for the future. So it's a holistic, to use your word, story. We become the stories that we tell ourselves. Unfortunately, we are unreliable narrators, right? So that's where we hit the wall, because you have no idea. The most powerful thing you have is the way you think about yourself. So narrative reconstruction, what happens when there's a trauma in your narrative? It fragments this coherence. You get stuck in this chaos of this trauma. But narrative reconstruction is this transformative writing process that takes these difficult, disjointed, painful experiences and transform them into these coherent and structured and meaningful narratives that then allow people to reclaim this authorship of the story rather than being defined by it. Center agency, grow from it, and gain a new perspective. So it's not about what happened, but about how you tell about what happened, what that story says about who you are becoming. So the restorative storytelling, it's a narrative reconstruction. They're kind of interchangeably used. Whereas the expressive writing is something you do at home in your own happy space. Restorative storytelling, is social and relational. It's about sharing these stories with other people. Because if trauma is isolating, right, then recovery must be in connections. So there's so much power in sharing your story. And that's why it's a lot of times this restorative storytelling is used in group settings like trauma recovery groups, restorative justice, prison. So I think it's just the power of people, anywhere. This is universal, essentially. So how do we do this? Choose the topic. Same, but we're real focused traumatic events here. And then you're going to write the raw version, describe exactly what happened, but it can be, you're not telling the story yet. You're getting it all out. It's going to be a mess because you're a mess. It should be a mess. It's the first draft of the truth, so to speak. I don't think I changed the slide because it says the exact same thing another one did. I apologize. So write the raw version instead of time and space. And then we structure the narrative using a 3-part arc. So we're talking about before, during, and after. What was life like before the event? What happened? What did you feel? What did it disrupt? And then after, what changed? Thank you. What did you learn, and who are you now? So we're taking these crazy, messy events and putting them into a narrative structure. And then 4 would be to add reflection and meaning So we get to ask, what was this story really about? What part of me did this event change or awaken or challenge? What strength did I find in it? And how have I carried this through the rest of my life? A lot of times we have horrible things happen and we think I'm carrying this bad thing with me. But once we work through that bad thing and come out on the other side, now we get to carry that strength with us. So it's about reframing your perspective on the other side. And then the fifth one is retelling. You can reframe or retell from your future self's perspective, from an outsider's perspective, as a letter to someone else. Different ways, you can write this story to really get through all sides of it. An alternate ending, that's a good one too. If you didn't, sometimes they say, well, you didn't get closure. Well, write your own closure. There you go. And that's allowed. You can do that. Okay, so why does this work? This creates this narrative coherence because trauma fragments your memory. Rebuilding, storytelling rebuilds it, and it helps you integrate this experience into your life timeline. So often we put trauma in a box and set it over here, and it's painful because it's always over here knocking, waiting to get out. Whereas if we just let it out and deal with it and make it part of our story, accepting part of what it not let me back up. Being able to integrate that experience into your life, good or bad, and move forward with whatever it has given you. It restores your agency because now you're in control. You are no longer the passive subject. You are the active narrator of your own experience. You don't get to, that experience does not dictate to you who you are. You tell that experience how it fits into your life. This reappraisal allows you to reinterpret motives, outcomes, and consequences, motives from yourself or other people. And it really reveals patterns and these themes that will give insight as you write your story. And then identity growth. You reclaim or rewrite. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes. Well, it's that saying, there's three sides to every story, yours, mine, and the truth. So, what exactly? Yeah, that's because once you do rewrite, you can say, I am resilient. I can survive. I do deserve better. You get, it's your life. It's your story. You get to take that power back. And that's really what it's about, is taking power back from something that is attempted to, interrupt your story arc. All right. What time is it? 40. We have a few more minutes. Do y'all want to see? Sorry, I cannot figure out how to connect this computer to this Mac. So there's several different short ways we can dive into this. You want to try some options? There's some prompts. Anybody or share them? You can work on them later. We can work on them a little bit now. I don't want to it's hard to, let's do a trauma journaling exercise. Isn't like great, right? But a popular one, write a letter to your past self. That's offer advice, reflection, pick a moment. And now, 10, 20 years on the other side of it, what would you tell yourself? That really show compassion with yourself, with your younger self, another one called the unspoken truth. Write about something you have never said out loud. It could be a feeling, a secret, a fear, a hope. You don't have to share it, obviously. Just because you write it doesn't mean you still don't have to say it out. Some things will never be said out loud, and that's okay. But this helps you with that emotional honesty. So start small with these things as you gotta climb or crawl before you can run. So just small things. The if it were different story, a narrative short story. If things had been different, imagine what that kind of alternate path and see how it feels to envision that different path. And it helps you be more flexible with the stories you're going to tell, and encourages you to be imaginative in your reframing because it's your story. The 3-word story starter. Choose 3 words that describe how you feel right now. Start your writing with these 3 words and let them guide you into the story or describe a moment that explains why you feel this way. So this is an easy emotional entry point. It says choose 3 words that describe how you feel right now. Start your writing with these words and let them guide you into a story or describing a moment that explains why you feel that way. So this also helps you link emotion to narrative. That's a really easy one. That's light, that's very surface. These get pretty, however deep you want to go is how deep you can go, essentially. I think a lot of us probably writers, it's always easier to write it than to say it. Nobody, yeah, yeah. That's why I don't know if you've heard this, but people are using ChatGPT for therapy because you can. Once again, do not recommend 0 out of 10 stars, but I think that says a lot to people want to, feel more comfortable sharing. And especially I think with traumatic things that, things that you've repressed for a long time, you've told yourself that this one thing for a really long time. So it's really hard to change that narrative. And it's painful. It's not supposed to be fun. If it's not uncomfortable, you're probably not doing it right. I don't know. And I think that people who might not consider themselves writers, everybody has a story. You're a writer. You have a story, you're a writer. And I think sometimes when you're writing like this, you are very surprised at how you find that your experience is universal when you can identify you can things that you can identify in other people very easily. You're like, oh wait, that's me too. So it's really, about making meaning and knowing yourself and taking control of who you are.